Welcome to the newest edition of 42 Stories Anthology Presents. We have an interview with one of the writers, Tom Prentice. Welcome.
Thank you, Bam. I'm happy to be here.
So, Tom, you have four stories in the anthology, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I did submit five, but only four sneaked through.
Yeah. Well, we tried to get as many authors in the book as possible, so we can only accept four. But you're a great writer to show that you have four in there. The reviewers are pretty strict. They rejected 21 submissions of 21 at one time.
Oh,
So
really? Wow.
So yeah, if you got four in there, that's definitely an honor badge right there.
Cool.
Do you recall the titles of not titles, but I have the titles in front of me. But do you recall the pen names that you used?
All right. Give me a second.
Mm,
So Tom Prentice, which is not a pseudonym. That's me. Martin Swallow, Drake Mandarin, Robin Swift.
all right. So I don't know if it's in ascending order or anything, but but happy birthday, Nana, and many happy returns. I think that is under Tom, and that's an alternate reality. And then there's order and safety is the enemy of creation and war. Technology really brings people together. That's a mythotopia. And then what do you do when your hero is off sick in satire? I really thought that one was pretty good. Well, they're all good. But yeah, I remember reading that one and like, kind of really thinking about it. But I'd like to hear one of your stories along with your bio, if that's okay. So why don't you give both a read if you're up to it?
Yeah, sure. No worries. So I suppose I'll read the first one I submitted when
All
I
right.
first heard about the project, which would be, which was the one that's under my name, which is
Hmm.
Happy Birthday, Nana, and many happy returns. It's um, the 42 character requirement for the titles
Hmm.
is great, by the way, because you end up with these like Philip K. Dick style titles for everything,
Yeah.
you know. All right, here we go. Happy birthday, Nana, and many happy returns by Tom Prentice. Here, blow these out. Her? That's Camilla, Nana. Yes, they grow up so fast, especially for you, eh? She's marrying that handsome chap this summer. Wouldn't want to miss that, would you? Back in the pot now, Nana. See you in 4 months. Boom.
It was really good. What inspired that one?
Um, well, we're going back a few years now,
Hmm.
which is fine. I you were getting a lot of heat from people in different groups saying this project is never going to end. You know, he's never going to wrap this up, and it was really unfair because by the very nature of the project that you were doing, they
Hmm.
should be aware that you're trying to get thousands of stories in there, right? So
From 1,764 writers, and
right,
eventually
exactly, yeah. So I mean, come
eventually
on,
I
like it's
caved
going to
there.
take a while, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, if you don't remember.
I remember. I think it came from. Well, I know that it came from kind of a big list of just story ideas I had, right? Which I didn't know what to do with, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, and it goes to show if you can tell the story in 42 words, you don't need more, do you?
Right.
So like, so I didn't know what else I was planning to do with it. But I think ultimately, like Kurt Vonnegut did have a short story um, in Welcome to the Monkey House, which was
Oh
all
yeah.
about. Have you read it? There's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
in there where because they've ended aging, right? And
Hmm.
there's multiple generations of the same family living in the same house, and no one will die, you
Hmm.
know. And it's just about all these people just like cramming into this one apartment in New York,
Hmm.
and because their patriarch won't die, everyone's just like constantly sucking up to him to try to get the best sleeping requirements in the apartment, you know.
Okay. Right, right.
Uh, so it was just that idea of like, if we kind of mess with kind of the natural sort of aging process, like what would that mean for the future? If no one ever died, or if you could halt aging in some way, you know,
Hmm.
like what kind of consequences would that have? And that idea of maybe like if you had your own personal pod to like try and slow down your aging, if you got into sort of your geriatric years, you might think, well, I don't want to miss my granddaughter's wedding in a year's time. I better jump in the pod. Um, you always hear about like when elderly people die, and they die in say January. They always say, "Oh yeah, she really wanted to have one more Christmas," things like that, which is probably nonsense. But so I guess yeah, I guess those ideas were swimming around in my head. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think what it is hearing you read it right after I recently read your story, Take Care of Yourself, which is also about an elderly lady. I was
yeah.
wondering about your inspiration. So it's good to hear it, where that comes from, because I could see it kind of going again, and but in a unique way. And that's a good story too, the Take Care of Yourself.
Oh
Um,
yeah, thanks for saying so. Yeah, it's strange actually. I've just written another story which isn't finished yet, but it's about another elderly person dealing with aging in a
yeah.
sci-fi setting, right? And it's like I don't know why I'm obsessed with it. I'm only like in my 40s, but you know, I keep coming back to it for some reason.
Well, why don't you tell the viewers your bio while we're talking about your type of writing?
Would you like me to read my bio or
Oh,
just kind
well,
of tell you about myself?
any bio is fine. It doesn't have to be 42 words. And it doesn't have to be third person. It could be anyway.
All right, grand, yeah. So I'm from England originally. I live in Dublin now in Ireland. I've been here about just over 10 years or so. I work in the tech industry. I make educational content for a tech company here in Dublin, of which there are many. It's a very sort of techie capital. I'm married. I've got one dog called Cookie, and we live up in Malahide outside of Dublin by the sea.
Hmm.
And I've been published in a few places, mainly in print, um, but in a couple of online spots. So maybe we can provide a link maybe to that one story, which I do actually have in an online publication. But I think probably I keep probably submitting stories to print publications just so I can actually put them on my shelf and show them off to people.
Good
So,
idea.
but I've been published in Sci-Fi Shorts is where I have an online story. Scare Street is a publisher that do a lot of horror anthologies. I've got one with them,
Hmm.
and I published a few times with some guys called Pulp Cult as well.
Okay. I'll have to look up that last one. I had opened up the one you mentioned with Scare Street, and looks interesting. Let me take a look. So to start this, I'd like to ask kind of some icebreaker questions, and then we'll get into writer questions. Okay, how about paintings? Tell me about some of your favorite paintings or artists.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm much of an expert on fine art or anything, but since I was little and really into the Alien movies, I really got into H.R. Geiger, and so I've got a lot of collections of his stuff, and I'm quite familiar with a lot of his art. Um, and it's kind of when you're a youngster and you're not really that interested in looking at kind of Renaissance art or anything, maybe it's not doing anything for you. Like look at a Geiger stuff. I mean, you might call it perverted, maybe, but it is. You're looking at art, and it's making you feel something. Something disturbing, something strange. So it's the first artist I really looked at their work and actually kind of gave me like emotions and stuff. So I've always liked Geiger for that, and some of his influences as well. So like if you go back and look at Goya or Backlund, who are both people that influenced him, and look
Yeah.
at some of their stuff, it kind of gives you a similar sort of um, emotional roller coaster, you know,
Hmm.
of disturbance, right? So yeah, I generally put them up, and then also if you look at some of William Blake's um, engravings and his art and stuff, there's something a bit twisted and a bit sort of terrifying about those. Like he's lifting the veil
Hmm.
on the you know on the phenomenal world, and showing you what things are really like underneath or something.
Yeah.
So those are the artists I really you know, like they're showing you how things really are underneath it all.
Yeah, it's coincidental kind of that you mentioned Geiger. So I got this thing back here, and it's what's inside is it's probably not what you think. but it's a hot sauce container. It's the one of the
Oh,
spiciest things in
really?
the world. It's called Psycho Slayer, and
Yeah,
I tried it, and there's even a video on it that I did earlier before I did these interviews,
yeah,
where I was trying Psycho Slayer, and the first thing I thought when I opened this thing was Hellraiser.
yeah. It looks like the lament configuration.
Yeah, it just shows how his art inspired so much. You could see it everywhere, even in something like
Oh
this.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like this.
sort of grotesque, but like
Yeah,
in a way also like you just can't stop looking at it, you know?
yeah, and that's why I still have the box. Even on the side, it's kind of something Geiger-esque. This little star.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
yeah, if you're into spicy stuff, I think the guy's actually in the UK. The guy who made it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Hmm. All right. I'll send you a link later.
Yeah, do it.
How about so you mentioned you like alien movies, right?
Yeah, ever since I was really young, kind of those were the first movies I really got into. I'm definitely sure I saw them all. Well, the first two. That's all there was at the time. I
Yeah.
saw them before I even saw Star Wars, I think, you know.
Yeah.
So I've loved them ever since.
Hmm. I recently rewatched those. I've been wanting to see the new Hellraiser, even though it's probably a sin or something. I don't know. But because I saw the other ones so much and I read the books
Yeah.
that I need something new from that. But
It's
I-
good. It's all right. Yeah, it's a good
yeah.
director, and you can see why he was chosen because he had a previous movie called The Night House. I forget the
Oh.
director's name now, but he did a really clever thing where he was messing with perspective and stuff to almost create this real sinister sort of vibe, and um, and how that really works for Hellraiser because you know like when the Cenobites are on their way, you know like a whole wall will disappear and then it'll suddenly be a tunnel, and he
Hmm.
was really good at creating those kind of scenarios. So that's what that the new Hellraiser film really brings to the table. Like
Hmm.
you're really pushing that to the next level. But weirdly, some of the weird psychosexual stuff and the BDSM stuff, um, those tones that are in those kind of original Clive Barker ones, they're sort of a bit kind of maybe it's 280s or something, but they've been
Hmm.
a bit sort of reduced a little bit. They no longer seem uh, like dominatrixes or whatever, you know.
Hmm. So the hardcore fans might not like it that much then.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't have enough leather, but otherwise it's pretty good. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's why there were so many negative reviews. They just wanted more leather.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is because it is good. And the woman that plays Pinhead in it is great. She's doing a great job, like
Okay.
really good.
I'll have to check it out then for sure and put it at the top.
Yeah.
But I was thinking you mentioned that you've kind of traveled a lot. Where's some of your favorite mountains? Kind of
I've
random.
traveled a bit by virtue of just being like relatively middle aged now. But I used to go up a lot of mountains and stuff, especially when I was younger.
Hmm.
There's a great mountain in Wales called Mount Snowdon. Wales is a very glacial place. So the views up there are pretty amazing of the valleys. And when I was teaching out in Korea, a good 15 years ago now, they've got a lot of mountains out there too. And one of their most popular mountains to go up is one called Sariksan, which is a really hard climb actually. But once you're up there, it's really worth it.
Hmm.
I'll try and see if I can dig up some of the old photos from when I went up there. But it was a
Hmm.
really great day. Yeah.
I'll
And
be going to Korea in a few years, so I'll see if we could check that out when we go.
oh, check it out. Yeah, it's
Recommendation.
brilliant. Yeah, it's a great hike up there.
Hmm.
Um, and you can really see in the sides of the mountain as you go up, you can see the original tiny steps that they would have expected the monks to walk up, you know, and they're just kind of carved out of the stone and they're tiny.
Hmm.
So either they had really tiny feet or it was just like really perilous for them, way more than if you do it now.
Hmm. Okay. So also earlier you mentioned Clive Barker. Are there any books or authors who you like specifically aside from Clive Barker?
I like Clive Barker. I haven't read all of his stuff.
Hmm.
I read some of the books of blood and What's the book that Hellraiser is based on again? What's the name of it?
It's something heart. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Hellbound Heart, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Hellbound Heart.
yeah. I haven't read all of his stuff though, but I really like his short stories a lot. Um, in the same vein, obviously Stephen King is
Oh,
brilliant, and I mean, who doesn't like Stephen King anyway? But like, he's one of those great ones who's writing when your parents were young and reading books, and
yeah.
then people my age are still reading them, and people younger than me are reading them. You know, so he
And
never
now
seems to go out of fashion.
people are
You know,
reading his kids' work now too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did read that collection that the Black Phone is in, which my
Hmm.
version is just called the Black Phone because I was reading it after the movie came out. Can't remember what the collection was originally called, but it's really good. Yeah. Um, I'd also rate Kurt Vonnegut a lot, who I do. I kind of went through a big kind of 5 year thing of reading all of his stuff. So I kind of read him less now because I kind of read everything by him. But I kind of started writing stuff around the same time I started getting into him, you know, because
Oh,
like his tone and approach are so different and he breaks all the rules, you know, like he's always writing in kind of quote unquote boring declarative sentences, but it just really works, you know. And you're like, okay, so actually there's no mad science to this.
hmm.
Actually, it just has to kind of be interesting to read. That's it, you know. So um so he was a big influence on me just for that reason, you know.
Yeah.
And they put him in the sci-fi author category, but I don't think he even writes sci-fi really. I mean, some of his books are kind of in the sci-fi realm, but like kind of most aren't, you know. And
Hmm.
even Slaughterhouse Five, which is supposed to be a sci-fi book because it's got time travel in it. I think if
Yeah.
you read very closely, I don't think that guy's traveling in time. I think he's just lost his mind, you know.
Yeah, he lost his mind. That's the
He's having
point.
PTSD, he's having flashbacks, you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's not about time travel. It's about losing
yeah.
yourself in kind of a hell, like a person.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I don't know why they keep calling it a science fiction story, you know. And
Uh,
yeah, there are aliens in it, but he imagines them, you know. So
I think it's because what Vonnegut does really well is the character is so believable that you're
yeah,
taken into that world, and it's almost like you're in a sci-fi, and you don't even realize you're just in someone's mind, and they've lost their mind. Uh,
exactly. Yeah. But
that's what
that's
makes
his
it
happy
work.
spot as well, because like he's really good at like completely absurd dialogue and and stuff like that, and it just seems to work. It seems real in his stories, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd say my favorite one of his is a non-sci-fi book of his, which is Mother Night. Did you ever read Mother Night?
I don't think so. I'll add it to my list. Mother Night.
Yeah, do it. It's not even very long, but it's set during the Second World War.
Is
And
that Knight?
is it what?
Is that Knight? Night
Yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah,
oh,
Mother
okay.
Night.
All
No,
right.
sorry. Yeah, Night.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not like a Dark Knight Batman thing.
Not like a mother who puts on shining armor. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's really good. Yeah, it's about like an American. There's a good movie of it actually as well. Um, it's about an American um, who lives in Berlin when the war breaks out, ends up becoming a propagandist for the other side, but he's secretly a spy, you know. But the idea of the story is if he's so outwardly helping the enemy and promoting the enemy and secretly a good person, what does that even mean? Like if
Yeah.
he's actively doing bad stuff and influencing people in a negative way. So it's all about identity and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, I think it's his best one myself.
Great
Um,
storytelling is when the character does what you don't expect. And it sounds like what's going on in that.
yeah, they do what you don't expect, but they it's the only thing they could have done. Like they were always trapped, you know.
What
Um,
have you read recently?
so I'm reading right now a book called The Chrysalis by a horror author called Brendan Deneen, and I actually got onto him because he just wrote a book set in the Alien universe, right? Part of the Alien extended universe.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I got to the end, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's also written this book called The Chrysalis, and I was like, oh, I've got that. Like I had it on my shelf. I've had it for ages, you know. So I just went on and actually got around to reading it, and it's brilliant. I'm about halfway through, and it's kind of about um, like a family move out of New York and they move into I think they're in New Jersey and they're kind of in the burbs and they're getting used to like not being in the city anymore, but they got this big house and they're just dealing with becoming a family and stuff. But at the same time, there's an alien chrysalis in the basement that the lead character is kind of getting, for some reason, hypnotized by,
Hmm.
and we don't really know what its agenda is yet. But it's almost becoming like an addiction for him, you know.
Hmm.
And we don't know how it's going to play out yet. But I'm just approaching the midpoint now, so I imagine we're going to find out.
Oh, I guess that's kind of a popular name, Chrysalis, because Murakami Haruki has this story, 1Q84, and
Yeah.
the author in the book writes a book, I think, called Chrysalis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's about these little people who tell people messages, and they're kind of like the masters. And so it's interesting. And in this case, this is aliens who tell people things. And there's a similarity
Well,
between them.
I'm saying it's an alien,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
actually, I don't know where it's from yet. We might find out.
So that's kind of interesting connection. I'll have to read this chrysalis to compare the two.
Yeah, you'll have to. Yeah, I need to read IQ84. I remember when everyone was talking about Murakami. He's got his fans, but I never got around to reading it, so I'm
Hmm.
gonna have to do it.
I did it through the audiobook because I'm on trains for 2 hours and it was just
Yeah.
easy to get through it. But there's a lot of the book that I could have lived without, like chapters on just stuff that's not needed in the book.
Yeah.
But the book all in all was good, and I'm glad that I went through it.
I
So
just got through the three body problem, and those books get longer and longer as well. And by the time you're at the third one, you're like, you could have shaved some out of this, you know? Yeah.
yeah, some writers don't care about line editing, but it is important.
Well, if your first book was a big hit, like they're not going to stop you, you know?
That's true. They'll just publish anything you put out there.
Yeah. I think
Um,
the real artists that keep learning and learning from their craft, you know, their books get shorter, you know, because they can
yeah.
distill it down.
So, what gets you in the mood to write when it comes to drinks like coffee, tea, and so on?
Well, I mean, I can't really do anything without coffee anyway.
Hmm.
I mean, I can barely get out of bed without coffee. So yeah, I need coffee if I'm going to be writing, that's for sure. I mean, I've written stuff drunk before to kind of like, you know, shut out the distractions and just kind of get into the vibe, you know.
Yeah.
But I think people like Hemingway or whoever, some of those guys, you know, from yesteryear, I think probably were just drunk 24/7 probably.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I think for the long haul, I think you've got to be fairly sober most of the time for it to work, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, probably for the duration of maybe like one glass of wine, it could actually maybe help me, you
Yeah.
know, to like just go with the flow. But then anything after that, it's just going to be diminishing returns, I think.
Well, even though Hemingway would write drunk, he would say to edit sober.
Edit sober,
And he was pretty
exactly.
strict about that. So,
Yeah, I think I'd be more like right drunk, and then in the morning say, "What the fuck is this?" and
yeah.
just have to throw everything out. So, you know,
Hmm. What's your greatest achievement in writing?
I think just the first time I got something published, you know, because um, you could spend ages, and you always hear about. I mean, Stephen King's a good example of this, right? He'd written multiple novels before he even got Carrie published,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you even sustain that? How do you believe that much in yourself,
Hmm.
you know, to get that far? And I'm mainly only writing short stories, but like, why would I be spending the time unless I thought that anyone would want them? So, like, once you've been published once, and you go, oh, okay, you know, someone somewhere eventually is gonna, maybe if I write something, someone's probably gonna put it out somewhere, right?
Hmm.
Once you got that validation once, you can take your time the rest of the time. You're not hungry anymore for, you know, any kind of proof that it's worth your time, you know, which is better because it means you're not submitting stuff when it's not really ready, you know. So I'll sit on stuff, even really short stuff, for years sometimes, you know, just kind of thinking about what else I could add to it, thinking about what else I could research to add to it, you know, if it's got some sci-fi concept at the heart of it,
Hmm.
or things like that, and just giving myself the space from it, um, to come back to it later with fresh eyes, and kind of rewrite it again if necessary, or revise it at least.
Hmm.
So not being in a rush is is a result of just having been published that first time. So that's kind of the first major stepping stone. That's what helps you deal with all of the rejection that you get ultimately, because you know that eventually down the line, in 6 months or a year or 2 years, some publication will say, oh yeah, that really fits here. So I'd say that, yeah, that was probably the just the first time I got a story published, which was kind of the first story I wrote as well. So I mean, that's a good thing. I didn't have to write like 10 before I got one published, and you know think of myself as a failure all that time, but still carry on with it. And that was a time travel story about a guy that gets really old, actually, and
Hmm.
then travels back in time to like mess with his mess with the plans of his younger self.
Hmm.
You know, that was in a collection called On Time. So like all of those stories were time travel stories, and but I don't think that collection's in print anymore. But it got republished just this year in another collection called A Stitch in Time is the name of the collection.
Okay.
And I think that one is, I think the publisher is Pulp Cult for that one. Yeah, so you can read it there actually. Yeah, it's still in print in that case.
Sounds good. What got you into writing?
So I was in a really kind of intense job for a few years.
Hmm.
Didn't really have time to think about anything else, just kind of work. And I kind of burned out and quit and did a master's degree. And then between finishing that and starting a new job that that I had upcoming. So like I finished the degree in say like late 20 late 2016, and then I knew I was starting a job in like I think it was like I knew I was starting a new permanent job all the way up in say April,
Hmm.
right? So I was going to do another course in between. So I just had this big gap of like I think like 3 months where I was doing nothing, right? And I had one idea for a story, and I thought, you know what? I've got loads of time here. I'm not going to lose loads of my free time doing something I'm not sure if I can do. I may as well give this a blast since I've got the time to do it. So I kind of drafted out that time travel story, which was a terrible one to start with because I'm not that very good at plotting anyway, and trying to figure out a time travel paradox in your head and make sure it's reflected on the page is hard. Anyway, so but anyway, yeah, I ended up writing it and revising it. Didn't really know what I was doing.
Hmm.
Sent it off to a few places. Um, it almost won this one contest. It was on the shortlist, but then I didn't win it. But I thought, you know what? If I just spent the time on this story, it made it even better. I could have won that.
Hmm.
So I learned a valuable lesson there about making sure something's ready before you send it off.
Yeah.
Then eventually I did. I think it wasn't until like 2020, after revisiting it a couple of times and fixing it up a couple of times, I sent it off to for that publication On Time, and they accepted it, and then it got published, and I was just really proud to have a story in a book. So since then I've been hooked. But ever since I sort of started writing that first story, I mean, anytime kind of like I had one idea when I began writing that story, and by the time I'd finished writing it, I had like three other ideas, that had come up in my head while I was writing.
Yeah.
I just really learned through the process of that first story that like creativity, it's like a muscle that you've got to flex.
Yeah.
Like you might not think you've got enough ideas to sustain a career, but if you wrote one story, you'd have the next one ready in your head. And if you wrote that, you'd have another idea. And if you wrote that, you'd have another one, right? So it never really ends as long as you keep doing it,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't really want to stop kind of being a writer now or working on stuff because I see the value now of a creative outlet, which I didn't really have before.
Hmm. Well, at some point, every writer has to kind of go too. to not really their muse or maybe a muse, but sometimes it's just someone who is also a writer that inspires them. So that
Yeah.
said, who is your favorite writer on earth?
Favorite writer on earth?
Yeah, living or dead.
It's a tough one. I'm quite partial to Kurt Vonnegut, as I said.
Hmm.
Oh, but is he consistently great in the same way other authors are?
Hmm.
I don't know. Who is it? Stephen King's definitely up there, especially the way he's been able to touch so many different generations.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, I'm sticking in the horror sort of horror or sci-fi arena here because it's kind of more my area. But
Hmm.
uh, I mean, I like H.P. Lovecraft a lot,
Yeah.
but he's not the most accessible writer, you know. But
Hmm.
at least he was doing something that was purely him. He almost didn't care about his audience, you know. So
Yeah.
maybe there's a purity to him that I quite enjoy, you know. Yeah, difficult to say. Difficult to say. Also, you know, in one lifetime, you never get to read them all.
Hmm.
Maybe my favorite author I'm yet to read.
Hmm.
Who knows? I mean, Kurt
Well,
Vonnegut, I didn't read anything by him until like I was in my 30s,
hmm.
and I was
I
blown
think
away. I'm
that's the
like, wow,
best
why didn't I read
time.
this?
They
Yeah,
should
maybe.
they shouldn't make teenagers read that stuff. They should wait until they're old enough to understand it. And when you're a
Yeah, because
teenager,
he's a guy you guys study in school, right? Over in the
yeah,
States.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're studying high
I
school.
barely even heard of him.
Hmm.
In school, we did, which is pretty edgy actually to be teaching in school. They did Lord of the Flies.
Oh yeah, I read that in elementary.
Yeah. It's a great book though. Yeah. Kind of surprised they were teaching it to kids really.
I think it's
You
just
know?
because it's about kids. Like they don't even read the story. They just go, "Oh, this one's about kids. It has kids in it," and they don't read it. It's
I
good.
know, but like as a kid, I never liked reading stuff with kids in it. I wanted to read stuff about adults doing adult things because that's the window into that adult world then, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now I'll read stuff with kid protagonists and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what childhood was like. But at the time, I just wanted to get out of childhood, you know,
Hmm.
as much as possible. So
So earlier you'd mentioned rejection. How do you handle rejection and also celebrate acceptance?
it's easy, actually, I think. Like that fear of rejection is something that maybe you get the first time you try and put something out there,
Hmm.
but you get used to it fast, you know? And it's just the more authors you talk to, even the ones that are very successful, the more you realize that it's just part of the game. Like
Yeah.
doesn't matter how many novels you've got published or anything, you might submit something to a publisher and they'll reject it. They'll say this isn't for us, we can't sell it. Unless you are like that top what 5-10% of authors who can sell anything with their name, right? Most authors can't, even the ones who count it as their primary career, you know. They're not household names in the same way someone like Stephen King is, right?
Yeah.
But you still have to write something that they think they can market or that fits what they're putting out into the
Hmm.
world. Right? Um, so rejection's part of the game. You just got to keep trying to find the right home for it. Stephen King, before he was a name, before he was anybody, before he'd published Carrie, um, he'd written multiple novels, and then they slowly, you know, slowly got to release those after Carrie was published because everyone wanted more. Then, you know.
Yeah.
Also, the second part of that is that you can't be writing to get published. Really, you got to be doing it for your own enjoyment, like to I don't know, perfect your own skills or um, to get something out of it yourself or try something you haven't done before.
Hmm.
Um, it's very possible, especially in short fiction as well, that the thing you wrote isn't very good, you know, but you might learn something from that process that you put into the next story,
Hmm.
right? So it's okay that like not everything's great, not everything finds a home, you
Yeah.
know. Even if 90% of your stuff was trash, but 10% was the cream at the top that actually got out there, then it would be worth doing.
Hmm.
So rejection's part of the game, failure is part of the game. Not everything's going to work, you know. Also, the other side to that, which is now the third side, is that when it comes to celebrating your successes, you should celebrate it, absolutely, but you can't tie it too much to your sense of self-esteem, because that's
Yeah.
going to fade as well. The success of doing that is going to fade, and you'll be looking for the next high of getting something else published, and then you're going to be in a rush to try and get your next thing out so you can feel that again. But if you're writing just for you and to keep yourself happy, you won't rush it, and you'll perfect it before you start trying to submit it, and then you're more likely to get it published anyway. And then it's like, um, then you can truly enjoy it because it's actually finished, and it's in its finished form. And then you can just enjoy that cherry on top of seeing it in a book and other people enjoying it too. You know, that's the way I look at it. It's like a marathon. I used to do a lot of long distance running,
Oh,
and they say like the marathon isn't the thing that's supposed to be hard, right? All the training is hard. The
yeah.
marathon's the part that you enjoy, you know, and it's relatively easy because you did all the training, right? So it's a bit like that. That final hurdle where you actually get it out into the world, that's not really kind of the work. That's not the thing to reflect upon. It's the actual work that you put in itself, you know.
Yeah,
The publication is just the sort of the enjoyment of that, the recognition of that. That's all, you know.
definitely. Yeah, you mentioned Stephen King. Actually, when he started writing that kind of stuff, he was a journalist at first, and then he got
Yeah.
outside of his shell as a journalist, and then went into writing other things. So even the stuff that resulted in success was based on getting outside of his shell. So yeah, that example
Yeah.
totally works. Tell me
Even
about
Kurt Vonnegut was a journalist beforehand.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. You're right, right. Have you
even
been a
after the
journalist
success
before?
of some of his other books, he had to do a teaching job and stuff like that in between. It's not like he was getting um, constant like revenue, like enough to live off of, that
Yeah.
entire time. He had to
Well,
have regular jobs and stuff.
yeah, you might consider becoming a journalist. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I think it might have been Vonnegut or someone else actually said like most. I think like a good half of great writers do come from a journalism background because they structure their stories the same way
Hmm,
and they explain things the same way, and you can tell that with Kurt Vonnegut because he is just stating the facts of the matter.
hmm,
But because he's doing that, but his stories are so absurd, then it makes it funnier, right?
hmm.
And then
Well,
you
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
authors as well that come from a different angle. They're more literary.
Hmm.
But and I'm from neither of those backgrounds, so I don't know where I fit in.
Well, what are your writing goals?
Well, I've been stuck in the short fiction camp for a while because I'm really bad at like kind of structuring much longer plots.
Hmm,
Like I've been spending too much time trying to just write a big synopsis, like a treatment to like explain everything. And I end up putting in too much detail and I just find myself writing the story. And I'm like, no, I'm
hmm,
supposed to be outlining. And I've just tried writing by the seat of my pants as well and just seeing where it takes me. And then things get so convoluted, I just don't finish it, because I just don't know what to do next. So I'm really trying to figure out what technique works best for me to write longer pieces, going from that sort of novella stage into novel stage, so that I can manage a bigger project, and not have to quit my job and literally work on it every day, you know. Because the thing about writing something much longer is you kind of got to live in it the entire time.
yeah.
Pretty hard to do that when you got a day job as well. You can't just be daydreaming about your pet project. So finding some kind of structure I can work in where I can keep the framework of the story like really well worked out and work on it in my free time and write longer work. And that's kind of my next objective. So I'm looking at the snowflake method at the moment, and I'm trying to apply that to um, a sort of longer story I'm working on right now that's got
Hmm,
sort of three major beats and then a sort of big ending. So even though it's not like novel length, it's still kind of a longer piece with at least kind of, you know, kind of it's kind of three acts, or
hmm.
five, depending on how you look at it. So I'm trying to apply it there and see if I can, and if it works for me, that's something maybe I can use to apply to even longer pieces, if it works for me.
Yeah. Where can people find your work? And if they want to follow you on social media, where could they find you?
I've been pretty lazy about setting up my own website, but
Hmm.
now I've got a lot of pieces that have gone through the publication cycle and they're back in my um the rights have reverted back to me and everything.
All right.
I may as well start collecting some of those online
Hmm.
so that some of those are in the same place where people can find them, but I just haven't got around to it yet. So I will do that and I'll let you know. But I am on Twitter for what it's worth
Hmm.
these days. So you can X me on X at x.com/TA Prentice. Let me spell that out. It's TEEAYEPRENTICE. And don't really tweet there that much because I don't want to be, destroyed by other people. But if something of mine's coming out, I normally retweet it there. So maybe that's the best place to find me right now.
All right. When this interview comes out, I'll tag you in it from there.
Brilliant. Yeah, much appreciated.
Before I let you go, how would you like to see the cover before it's everywhere else?
Yeah, do it.
When
Yeah, I
you
want to
get
see it.
your impression of it. Let's see. So here's the cover before it has the barcode in it. Uh,
Brilliant. Oh
it's
yeah, fantastic.
42
Nice.
pictures on each side from the well for photos from the photographer.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. And they've
Yeah,
collected all of these photos themselves, or have
yeah,
they tried to get people to submit them?
yeah. Katya had collected these throughout the years, and then when the anthology came out, she wanted to be a part of it and said, "And I have all of these." And I go, "Oh, really? That's really cool." And
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, because yeah, so we can. Yeah, yeah, like definitely. I mean, ever since reading Hitchhikers, obviously, whenever you see the number 42 out in the world, you part of you goes, "Oh yeah, I get it," you know. Um, so it's great. It's great to have this to really kind of. I mean, the cover really encapsulates that idea, of this number being sort of magical in a way.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Thanks. Uh,
Yeah,
so
yeah, it looks fantastic. It's
uh,
great. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to hold it in my hands and put it on my shelf with all of the others.
yeah. Well, the goal is to get writers' names out there, and hopefully it's on a lot of shelves. Okay, I'd like to show you one more thing if you have a minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the merch store, and the reason is because I think it's a little silly that YouTubers have like suddenly they cut to another video, and I've had to do that in a couple of these videos, but I just think it's more natural to get a person's reaction. So, and also that way, if anything sucks, you could tell me, you know. As kind of a viewer. So if you have a minute, is it all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So what the merch store is going to do is kind of help me pay the editors and artists, and that's the whole point of it. Because aside from book sales, that's going to come out of me as a teacher, you know. So
Right.
I'm going to work on that. And I think it's pretty cool. I'm using a Redbubble site, and what they do is
Yeah.
they let me put the art on, and then they supply the material. And so it's
Yeah, they're great, Redbubble. Yeah. I mean, even if you're just making stuff for yourself,
yeah.
they're awesome. Like it's much easier to sort of just submit it and then buy it from them.
I mean, you mentioned your dog Cookie. You could put Cookie's face on a shirt and then be making some money off Cookie, you know? So
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it definitely sells some t-shirts. Yeah. He's very cute.
it's not
Yeah, that's
only
great.
shirts.
That's awesome.
You could go to products and there's a bunch of stuff. There's hats. I tried to get a towel out of this, but there's just tapestry and a blanket. It's the closest thing. But some
It's
dogs.
cool. Yeah.
This
I'm
is
definitely
actually
gonna
the
get myself a shirt at least.
cool. This is, by the way, the book logo. That's where that comes
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to get the impression of some of the writers before it goes out there. Because then if anything's kind of lame, they'll tell me straight up, right?
No, it's great. Yeah.
Cool.
There's so many different products you can get it on.
Yeah, that's why Redbubble's pretty cool, even though I'm not getting paid to say that on a video. And
I'm always ordering stickers and stuff from them. I mean, they're a really good site, you know.
yeah,
Um, I'm not getting paid by them either. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I'll take a look and I'll order some merch right away.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, thank you for your time, and it was nice talking with you.
Yeah, cheers, Bam. Nice one. Thanks a lot.